So, in my last video almost 2 weeks ago, I wrapped up by submitting my game to both Apple and Google for approval. Here's where we are 2 weeks later. This is Blink. It's a pretty simple little mobile game. You play as a firefly flying around a forest at dusk. As you play, the forest gets darker, and you light it back up by flying around the screen and blinking your light at certain locations. Along the way, you can unlock 16 playable characters in 4 environments that I made as I taught myself pixel art. Blink is also my first game that I've ever developed up to the point that I'm actually ready to release it. I've had many failed projects over the past few years, but for the last 6 months I've been working hard on this passion project and have made devlogs throughout the entire journey. Now I'm just trying to get Blink out the door, but I'm running into some trouble. My iOS builds have been getting approved no problem, which is great. Android, on the other hand, is a completely different story, and it turns out it's kind of my fault. At some point as I was filling out info about my game in the Google Play console, I indicated that Blink was targeted towards players 13 years and older. I did this in order to avoid dealing with COPPA compliance. That's the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Turns out I should not have done that. Google took one look at Blink and saw just how adorable my hand-drawn characters are and how simple the gameplay is, and determined that my game was in fact suitable for children. And they're right. I think one of my best testers has been my friend's son, who is obsessed with unlocking these characters. As a result, Blink was unfortunately rejected. Thankfully there's light at the end of the tunnel because Unity makes it very easy to make your game COPPA compliant. The only identifiable information collected in my game comes from Unity ads. My understanding is that in order to be COPPA compliant, all I need to do is enter the Unity dashboard and indicate that my game is targeted towards children. This tells Unity not to collect personal information that could be potentially harmful to young players. I also went in and tailored the content of the ads I'm showing to be more age appropriate, just to be on the safe side. So I made these changes in the dashboard and also made some tweaks to the game based on some beta feedback that I received. I then went back into the Google Play console and resubmitted the family content questionnaire to indicate that my game is in fact suitable for kids. Fast forward almost 2 weeks and my updates are still processing. I was kind of hoping to have the game released at this point, so kind of bummed out here. So here we are. I hope that Blink gets approved by Google in less than a week, but I don't just want to sit around. I gotta find something to do. Last weekend I hosted a live stream where I made some final tweaks to gameplay. These included improvements to the way the player is rewarded for watching ads, the size of various canvas and text elements, and the options I allow the player to toggle. At this point there's honestly not much left to do. I need to enable real advertisements rather than the test ones for my final build, and more importantly, I think my store page could use some sprucing up. My store pages right now are pretty vanilla looking. I have a few basic screenshots and some maybe decent text, but I think it would be good for me to learn about what makes a good store page, both for Blink and my future games. So I'm gonna get to work on that. So it's been a little over an hour and I've made some small but important improvements to my Apple App Store listing. I went through all my copy text and tried to make things more interesting, and I also created an entirely new set of screenshots for all devices. These new screenshots showcase more of what you can unlock and how that changes the way the game looks. The last thing I need to do for my App Store listing is create an app preview video for Blink. I'm not going to do that right now because I need a bit of a break. I also need to go make all these changes to copy text and images on the Android side, but now I know better not to make any changes there until my review is completed. So I think I'm going to leave things there for today, and I'll catch up with you guys soon. So by soon, I really meant in about a week. I actually went to the beach last week, which ended up being pretty great timing since I'm still waiting on Google to approve Blink for testing. Or at least I was. I'm now back home and very happy to announce that about halfway through last week I checked the Google Play console and Blink was finally approved for testing. So as you can imagine, about the first thing I did was send my internal link off to an Android device and see how the app performed. Overall, everything looks and plays great. I did find 2 bugs though, one small and one kind of big. The small one occurs when the game ends as your score multiplier is being updated. Basically, this animation just hangs and never completes. No big deal, I don't think that one's going to be too much trouble. The big one, however, is that the in-app purchase seems to always automatically be granted to you on Android devices only. Thankfully, I think this is due to something pretty silly that I did, so I have a quick fix in mind. That said, it's going to require another round of testing on Android devices to make sure I get the in-app purchases code right. So it's Sunday evening right now. I got back from the beach pretty late last night and I've been doing chores all day today, so my plan is just to try and fix these 2 bugs, push out new builds to get approved for testing again, and call it quits. Let's get after it. Well, that took slightly longer than expected, but we've got the fixes wrapped up now. I think I've made all the changes I need for the in-app purchases, but it'll require another round of testing on device to confirm. I did fix up the issue with my multiplier, which was due to a coroutine not being executed properly. Time to make the new builds and test everything on device. I'm really hoping that the review process will not take nearly as long this time. We'll catch up soon. Welcome back to Monday evening. Good news tonight. My updates from yesterday were approved and I was able to confirm that in-app purchases are now working entirely as expected on Android, including automatically restoring previous purchases. However, as I was going back to double check my changes on iOS, I realized I have a small problem. When you tap restore on an iOS device and you have no previous purchases to restore, nothing happens. You would see an error message if it failed, but it's not failing, it actually just succeeded in restoring 0 purchases. I'm going to see if I can fix that up right now and maybe get some final builds out the door tonight. So this was a pretty straightforward fix, but it was kind of interesting and I thought it might help some of you guys out there who are also developing a game for iOS and have in-app purchases implemented. As you guys might know, restore transactions do not happen automatically on iOS. The user has to press a button and you have to fire off this extension function, restore transactions. Now, if you get this result callback rather than the failure, that means that the restore process succeeded. It doesn't mean that anything was actually restored, but it means that the system successfully checked for previous purchases, whether or not it found any. So I didn't have any code in this block before. If our result contained a previous purchase, then process purchase would be fired off and my normal success handler would be called and everything would work smoothly. But if there was not a previous purchase, then as you can see, nothing would happen here. So here's my fix. I'm now using this flag that I'm calling process purchase called. Now this is initialized to false at the top of the file. This will get set to true in the success callback of process purchase if we pass through all the receipt validation and a purchase is actually completed and restored. If this is not called, meaning that the restore transactions procedure completed but there was nothing to restore, then I have a separate action here to handle my kind of empty success, which I use to kind of just show a nice little modal to let you know there was nothing to restore but everything kind of worked as expected. Nice to get that fixed up pretty quick this evening, and it's kind of scary to say this, but that was actually the last coding task that I had on Trello, so it seems like Blink might be code complete, assuming that everything I wrote tonight works. Of course, I'm going to send out 2 more builds to iOS and Android and do one last round of testing before I'm willing to sign off on that. While that last round of testing is underway, I'm going to spruce up the store pages for iOS and Android and maybe hopefully make some kind of app preview video that'll autoplay when you're checking out the store page. But I gotta go cook dinner and relax a little bit tonight, so that'll probably happen tomorrow. Well guys, I think the time has finally come. This passion project that I've been working on for 7 months since the beginning of this year in my free time after work and outside of all the other activities that I take part in, it's finally ready for release. As I sit at my desk right now and release Blink to the world, I want everyone watching to know how much I've appreciated your support over these past 7 months and how excited I am for you guys to finally play this game. I hope there are no big bugs. Rest assured that as this project comes to a close, others will take its place. Hopefully many others. I've got a huge plan going forward for my indie game business and this channel, so I hope you'll stay tuned and there will be a new video coming up very soon. But enough of that for now. Let's do this thing. I hope you guys have a ton of fun playing Blink. Of course, if you enjoy it, spread the word, and please, if you find any big defects, just let me know. I'm committed to making it the best experience possible. Enjoy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.